Hey there, CJ Math students, and welcome to Note 6a. You're going to multiply and divide integers using the algorithm. And really, there's no big algorithm here. This is actually going to be easier than when we added and subtracted integers. So, key thing to note, when you multiply or divide the numbers, just do that normally, and then just count the number of negative signs. If it is odd amount of negative signs, like 1, 3, or 5 negatives, then your answer is negative, right? And then if there are an even amount of negative numbers, then your answer is positive, right? So like a positive times a negative or a negative divided by a positive, it doesn't matter whether the number is bigger or smaller, which one's negative. If there's just one negative sign, your answer is going to be negative, right? And same thing on the other side. If there are two negative signs, your answer is actually going to be positive. So if we review real quick, you might remember these acronyms. You're going to see in a second when we multiply and divide, we don't even need acronyms anymore, right? So for this one, we know it's same signs, add key. Right? Same signs, we add them up, we keep the sign. Easy. For this one, we know it's different signs, subtract more. They are different signs, so I'm actually going to subtract, which is 20 minus 4, which is 16, and I'm going to keep the sign that I have more. I have more negatives, 16. Right? Remember, when we see subtraction, we immediately have to change it to an addition problem by using KCC. So negative 20, we keep. Change that to a plus sign, change that to a positive 4. That's a BSSM again, and we already know that that is the same exact problem that we just had above, negative 16. Same thing here. KCC, negative 20 you keep, change the minus sign to a plus sign. Don't forget to change that last change that to negative 4, right? Because it was a positive 4, now it's a negative 4. That's SSAK, and that's negative 20. Okay? Now for the type on the multiply and divide, all you're going to say is even positive or odd negative, right? So I have two numbers that are negative, so that's even. And my answer is going to be positive. Positive 80, right? It's not the numbers if they're positive or even, it's the amount of signs if they are positive or even. So for instance here, I have one number that is negative, so that's odd, and my answer is going to be negative, so negative 80. And when I'm dividing, same rules, right? I have two negative signs, so that's even, positive, so that's positive 5, and one negative sign right there. It doesn't matter that 4 is smaller than 20. All you got to do is count the number of signs, so odd and negative, so that's negative 5. Right? Very, very simple, straightforward. Quick review of kind of division vocabulary. The first numbers are dividend. The number we're dividing by is our divisor, and our answer is our quotient, right? When we're doing long division, the divisor goes on the outside, the dividend, what we divide into, goes on the inside, and our quotient's the top answer. If it looks like a fraction, the numerator is the dividend, the denominator is the divisor, and again, my answer is the quotient. Right? In algebra, they like to write a whole bunch of different ways to multiply and divide stuff. So 4 parentheses negative 5 does mean 4 times negative 5. So since I only have one negative, that's odd. My answer is going to be negative 20. Right? Parentheses right next to parentheses also means multiplication. So negative 3 times negative 12. You also might have seen a dot before used as multiplication. So instead of negative 3 times negative 12 with that times, you might see a dot, right? In fact, you probably will see that more often because x is often used as a variable. So this is even, so it's positive, and it's positive 36. For division, you could see a division sign, or you could just see this slash. So this means 16 divided by negative 8. This is odd, right? Because there's only one negative sign. So that's negative 2. And you could see it written like a fraction. This still means 20 divided by negative 4. This is also odd, right? Because there's only one negative sign, so that is negative 5. Real quickly, we're going to do some plugging in here. And so basically, when you plug in with parentheses, and plug in the exact number that you see. So for A, it says A is equal to negative 2. So we plug in negative 2. Now I go to B. B is equal to 3. So parentheses 3. C is equal to negative 4. Okay. Now, just like I did up here, I see, parentheses next to each other. That just means multiply. That's exactly what I'm going to do. So I have an even amount of negatives. So my answer is going to be positive, so let's just multiply. 2 times 3 is 6, times 4 is 24. Right? Now this is very kind of tricky here. Make sure that you understand that this is a negative, the opposite of A. So put down that negative, then plug in A, which is negative 2, then plug in C, which is negative 4. So you notice that negative is not the same as that negative 2. It's the opposite of A, right? A here is negative 2, but if A is already negative 2, the opposite is negative 2, right? So we have 3 negatives in this case. Odd. So my answer is going to be negative 2 times 4. The rest we'll do in partners, and good job. Good luck.